It was Christmas Eve in Manhattan. Fifth Avenue sparkled with festive lights, and the city hummed with warmth despite the freezing air. Families bustled past storefronts, arms loaded with last-minute gifts, laughter rising like steam into the night sky. Every corner echoed joy, except one. In the far corner of a dimly lit upscale restaurant sat a man in an expensive charcoal suit, alone at a table for four. The white linen tablecloth lay untouched except for a single glass of bourbon and a plate that had gone cold. He wasn't just any man, he was Nicholas Grant, CEO of the multimillion-dollar tech empire, GrantLink. Everyone knew his name. He graced business magazine covers, spoke at elite conferences, and moved markets with a single decision. But no one really knew him, not anymore. Nick stared blankly out the frosted window, watching snowflakes fall onto the empty sidewalk like tiny reminders of all he had lost. A silent phone lay face down beside his glass. No calls. No messages. No family waiting for him this year. Not anymore. Last Christmas, his wife had walked out, tired of being alone while he chased the next acquisition. His son, Luke, a college freshman, had stopped replying to his texts. "I don't know who you are anymore," he'd said during their last phone call. Nick remembered the silence after that call more than the words. It rang louder than any argument. So now, with the world wrapped in celebration and carols spilling from every store, Nicholas Grant sat in solitude, surrounded by luxury and drowning in emptiness. "Are you waiting for someone?" The voice was soft, curious. He looked up. A little girl, no more than 8, stood beside his table. She wore a red coat too big for her, a knitted green scarf, and held a candy cane in one hand. Her boots were wet, her cheeks rosy. Behind her stood a woman, her mother, most likely, looking both apologetic and amused. No, Nick replied, startled. "I'm not." The girl tilted her head. "That's sad." "It's Christmas Eve." He gave a tight smile. "Yes, it is." She paused, then glanced back at her mom before stepping closer. "Do you want to have dinner with us?" "My mom says Christmas is better when no one's alone." The question hung in the air like a fragile ornament, unexpected and oddly powerful. Her mother quickly stepped in. "I'm so sorry. Emma's very friendly. We didn't mean to intrude." But Nick raised a hand gently. "It's all right." His voice caught in his throat. "Dinner?" Emma nodded eagerly. "We're not fancy like this place. We just got some food from the deli across the street. Turkey sandwiches and hot cocoa. But we sit on the bench and share it together. It's kind of a tradition." Nick looked at them, this mother and child, probably with barely enough to spare, offering him, a man of obscene wealth, a seat at their modest feast. Something inside him cracked, then softened. "I'd like that," he said. And so, moments later, the man who once held meetings in boardrooms with skyline views found himself sitting on a city bench, wrapped in a borrowed blanket, sipping hot cocoa from a paper cup. Across from him, Emma giggled as she tried to stop marshmallows from jumping out of her drink, while her mother, Claire, offered him half of her sandwich with no hesitation. "Don't CEOs eat, like, really expensive stuff?" Emma asked innocently. Nick chuckled. "Usually, yes. But this might be the best thing I've had all year." Claire smiled. "Sometimes simple things are the ones we remember most." For the first time in months, Nick felt human. No titles, no pressure, just conversation. They talked about silly Christmas movies, the best kind of cookies, and how Emma wanted to be a firefighter and a scientist. Claire spoke of long hours at the hospital where she worked as a nurse, and how Emma's dad passed away 3 years ago from cancer. "I thought Christmas would never feel good again," Claire admitted quietly. "But Emma kept making me decorate. She said, 'Sad doesn't last forever, Mommy. But lights help.'" Nick looked at the little girl beside him and saw more wisdom in her tiny heart than in any boardroom he'd ever sat in. They sat like that for hours, watching the city slow down as the night deepened. Something shifted in him that night, not a sudden revelation, but a gentle awakening. A peeling back of armor. At one point, Emma reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper. "This is for you," she said. Nick unfolded it. It was a drawing. Stick figures holding hands under a Christmas tree, with stars in the sky. She had drawn herself, her mom, and him. Smiling. "I drew it before I even saw you," she said matter-of-factly. "I just knew someone would be there tonight who needed us." He felt his eyes sting. "You were right." As midnight bells rang in the distance, Claire stood and gathered their things. "We should get going." Nick rose, reluctant to let the moment end. "Thank you. I mean it." Claire looked at him kindly. "Sometimes the richest moments come when we're poorest in spirit. I hope tonight gave you a little light back." Nick nodded, unable to find words. Emma waved as they walked away. "Merry Christmas, Mr. CEO." And then, they were gone. The next morning, the Grant Link offices, usually dark during the holidays, lit up with surprise as an urgent memo went out from the CEO himself. "All employees, starting this new year, we are launching Project Hearth. A nationwide program to fund shelters, warm meals, and support services for families in need, especially single parents and children. Because no one should be alone or cold on Christmas, or any night." People buzzed with disbelief. Nick Grant never made personal memos. But the change didn't stop there. He reinstated family leave policies, doubled employee mental health benefits, and invited every employee to a holiday gathering where he, for the first time, personally shook hands and listened. In interviews, when asked what prompted this change, Nick simply said, "Someone shared a sandwich and cocoa with me on a bench one night. And it fed more than my hunger." 1 year later, on Christmas Eve, a small family sat in the front row at a Grant Link-sponsored holiday charity event. Emma, now 9, clutched a shiny new firefighter scientist Barbie and grinned from ear to ear. Claire stood beside Nick as he gave his speech, now a member of the company's foundation board. He looked out at the crowd, families, employees, children who once had nowhere to go, and felt something he hadn't known in years. Peace. As the crowd applauded, Emma ran up to him. "You're not alone this Christmas, are you?" He knelt to her level. "Not even a little." She leaned in and whispered, "I knew you'd come back next year."